A Vampire Romance. Written by Amelia Hart. Chapter 1. Midnight Bleeding. Blood smelled different at 2:15 in the morning. Lily Harper had worked the graveyard shift at Mercy General Hospital long enough to know this. 6 years of night rotations meant she could tell the difference between a gunshot wound and a knife fight just by the way the doors opened. Tonight, they opened wrong. The automatic doors of the emergency room slid open with their usual mechanical hiss. 4 men entered, moving in formation. 3 of them carried the 4th between them, his body limp, head lolling forward. Blood soaked through his white shirt, spreading across his abdomen in a dark stain that looked black under the lights. Lily's training kicked in immediately. She grabbed a gurney, wheeling it toward them. Her green eyes swept over the group, cataloging details the way she'd been taught. All 4 men wore civilian clothes, jeans, dark jackets, nothing remarkable. But their boots were identical. Tactical, military grade, the kind with reinforced toes and thick treads. They moved with the same posture, shoulders back, weight balanced, eyes constantly scanning. "What happened?" Lily asked, keeping her voice calm as they transferred the injured man onto the gurney. His skin was cold against her hands. Colder than it should be, even accounting for blood loss. "Accident," one of the men said. He was older, maybe 45, with graying hair cut short and eyes that tracked her every movement. Fell onto some metal, punctured his stomach. Lily nodded, not believing a word. She'd seen enough trauma cases to recognize the difference between accidents and violence. This was violence. The wound was clean, precise, made by a blade, not a fall. And the edges weren't just torn. They were burned, the flesh around the puncture blackened and blistered. She wheeled the gurney toward Trauma Bay 3, the men following too closely. Normal family members hung back, gave the medical staff room to work. These men crowded the space, watching her hands as she cut away the bloody shirt, their eyes following every instrument she reached for. "I need you to wait outside," Lily said firmly, pulling on latex gloves. "We're staying." The gray-haired man planted himself at the head of the gurney. Up close, she could see a name stitched onto his jacket. Crane. Hospital policy. Only medical personnel in the trauma bay during treatment. "We're not leaving him." Lily's jaw tightened. She pressed 2 fingers against the patient's neck, checking for a pulse. It was there, but slow. Too slow. And his skin was ice cold, pale as marble. His chest barely rose with each breath. "Temperature," she called out to Jill Monroe, the other night nurse. Jill scrambled for the thermometer, her blonde ponytail swinging as she moved. Crane leaned closer. "How many cameras are in here?" The question made Lily's stomach drop. "What? Cameras? Security? How many?" "I don't know. 2? 3? She kept her focus on the wound, cleaning away blood to assess the damage. The puncture was deep, probably hit the stomach lining. But those burns around the edges, she'd only seen something similar once, at a medical conference on rare poisonings. Silver nitrate exposure created marks like that. "What about exits?" Crane's voice was casual, but his eyes were sharp. "Besides the main entrance, there's a service exit by the pharmacy." Lily's hands moved automatically, applying pressure to slow the bleeding. "Why are you asking these questions?" "Just curious." Jill returned with the thermometer. "Lily, his temperature is 94.2. Hypothermia. Severe hypothermia on top of the blood loss. We need blankets. Warming blankets. And get Dr. Keller down here now." One of the other men, younger with a shaved head, shifted his weight. His jacket fell open slightly, revealing a holster underneath. Lily's breath caught. She looked at Crane with new understanding. These weren't worried friends or family. They were hunters. And the man on her gurney wasn't their victim. He was their prey. The patient's eyes opened suddenly, startling her. They were gray, pale gray that caught the light like polished silver. For someone who should be unconscious from blood loss, his gaze was far too focused, far too aware. He looked directly at Lily, then past her to Crane. His lips moved, barely a whisper. "Don't breathe," he said. His voice was rough, strained. "Or he'll hear you." Lily froze. The patient's hand moved slightly, fingers brushing against hers in what might have been accident or warning. His gray eyes held hers for 3 seconds. then closed again, as if the effort of consciousness was too much. "What did he say?" Crane demanded, moving around the gurney. "Nothing coherent. He's delirious from blood loss." Lily's heart hammered against her ribs. She kept her hands busy, checking vitals, adjusting the IV line Jill had started. Her mind raced through possibilities, each one more impossible than the last. Dr. Keller arrived 15 minutes later, still wearing his street clothes, glasses askew. He was 52 and looked like he'd been dragged from bed, which he probably had been. "Status," he said, moving to the gurney. "Single puncture wound to the abdomen, severe hypothermia, blood loss estimated at 2 liters. Lily rattled off the numbers while her brain screamed at her to pay attention to the men surrounding them, to the way they positioned themselves between the patient and the door, to the bulges under their jackets that definitely weren't phones. Crane pulled something from his pocket. A syringe, already filled with clear liquid. "We brought his medication. He needs it administered immediately." Dr. Keller reached for it, but Lily's hand shot out, intercepting. "What medication?" "Insulin. He's diabetic." Lily held the syringe up to the light. The liquid was clear, but it caught the fluorescent glow strangely, almost shimmering. She'd administered thousands of insulin shots. "This wasn't insulin. This isn't properly labeled," she said slowly. "Hospital policy requires all medications to be verified by the pharmacy before administration." "There's no time for that." Crane's voice hardened. "Give it to him now." "I can't do that." Dr. Keller frowned. "Nurse Harper, if the patient requires insulin, it's not insulin." Lily's voice came out sharper than intended. She'd seen this before, at that conference 3 years ago. A presentation on rare metallic poisonings. Silver nitrate, silver sulfate, colloidal silver solutions used in cases of... Her eyes dropped to the burn patterns around the wound. Silver weapons left marks like that on certain types of creatures. Creatures that shouldn't exist outside of folklore and fiction. The patient's eyes opened again, meeting hers. In that moment, she saw something flicker in those silver depths. Recognition. Desperation. Trust. "Protocol requires verification," Lily said, her decision crystallizing. She turned, syringe still in hand, and deliberately bumped the metal tray beside the gurney. Instruments clattered to the floor in an explosion of sound. Scissors, forceps, gauze packets scattered across the linoleum. In the chaos of everyone reacting, bending down, reaching for fallen tools, Lily leaned close to the patient. Her lips barely moved as she whispered, "I know what they're trying to give you. I know what you are." His eyes widened, just slightly. "I'll help you." She breathed, "Trust me." The patient's hand moved again, fingers brushing her wrist. His skin was ice cold, but his grip was steady. He nodded once, barely perceptible, before releasing her. Lily straightened, pulse racing. She had just committed to something impossible, something that could cost her everything. But as she looked at the men surrounding her gurney, at their identical boots and hidden weapons, and the silver poison in the syringe still clutched in her hand, she knew she was already involved. There was no walking away from this. Not anymore. Chapter 2. Silver Lies. Lily needed a distraction. She needed it now, before Crane decided to force the issue with that syringe of liquid silver. Her mind raced through options, discarding each one as too slow or too obvious. Then she remembered the emergency codes, the ones that sent every available staff member running. She moved toward the wall panel, her body blocking what she was doing from Crane's view. Her finger hovered over the button for Code Blue, Floor 4. It would pull Dr. Keller and half the night staff away from Trauma Bay 3, leaving her alone with the patient, and hopefully fewer hunters. "What are you doing?" Crane's hand closed around her wrist before she could press it. "Checking his oxygen levels on the wall monitor," Lily lied smoothly. She pointed to a gauge that had nothing to do with oxygen. "We need to make sure he's getting enough air." Crane studied her face for a long moment, then released her wrist. But he didn't step back. He stayed close. Too close. His breath smelling of coffee and something metallic. Gun oil, maybe. Jill appeared with the warming blankets. her young face pinched with concern. She spread them over the patient, tucking them around his shoulders. The man's eyes remained closed, but Lily could see the slight tension in his jaw, the way his fingers curled against the gurney's metal frame. He was conscious. He was listening to everything. "Dr. Keller," Lily said, turning to her supervisor. "I need to speak with you, privately. We're in the middle of treatment, Nurse Harper. It's about hospital protocol. It's urgent." Dr. Keller sighed, but he followed her 3 steps away from the gurney. Not far enough to avoid Crane's hearing, but far enough to create the illusion of privacy. "That medication they want to administer." Lily kept her voice low. "I don't think it's insulin. The solution is wrong. The viscosity, the way it catches the light. I've seen colloidal silver solutions before, at that conference in Baltimore. This looks identical." "Silver?" Dr. Keller frowned. "Why would anyone bring silver to treat a stab wound? That's what I'm asking." Before Dr. Keller could respond, alarms started blaring from the cardiac wing. Not the code blue she'd been planning to trigger, but something real. Someone's heart had stopped. Dr. Keller's head snapped toward the sound, years of training overriding everything else. "Go," Lily said. "I can stabilize him until you get back." "You're sure?" "I've done it 100 times. Dr. Keller was already moving, shouting for Jill to follow him. The blonde nurse grabbed a crash cart and sprinted after him, leaving Lily alone with the patient and 4 armed men who definitely weren't here to help. 3 of them went after Dr. Keller and Jill. Only Crane and the younger man with the shaved head remained. Better odds, but still not good. "Now we can do this properly," Crane said, pulling out the syringe again. "Give him the medication." "No." The word came out steadier than Lily felt. She positioned herself between Crane and the gurney, her hands spread wide. "You're making a mistake," Crane said softly. "You don't understand what he is. Then explain it to me. We don't have time for explanations." "Make time." The patient's eyes opened then, startling both of them. Those gray eyes had changed. The color was the same, but now they held a faint red glow around the edges, like dying embers in ash. His lips pulled back slightly, revealing teeth that were too sharp, canines too long to be human. "She knows," he said. His voice was rough, damaged, but there was power underneath it. Authority. "She figured it out on her own, Crane. Your operation was sloppy. The silver burns gave you away." Crane's face went pale. "You're awake." "I've been awake since you dragged me through those doors." The patient sat up slowly, the warming blankets falling away. The wound in his abdomen was still bleeding, but slower now. Lily watched in fascination as the edges of torn flesh began to knit together, impossibly fast. "The silver in my bloodstream slowed my healing, but it didn't stop it. Nothing stops it. Not permanently. Then we'll finish what we started." Crane lunged forward with the syringe. The patient moved faster than Lily's eyes could track. One moment he was on the gurney, weakened and bleeding. The next he was standing beside it, his hand wrapped around Crane's wrist. The syringe fell, clattering to the floor. The glass broke, spilling silver liquid across the linoleum in a spreading puddle that smoked faintly where it touched the vinyl. "You violated the Accord of 1889, the patient said. His voice was calm, but his eyes blazed red now, fully red, the gray completely consumed. "You attacked me during a neutral meeting. You used silver weapons in a demilitarized zone. You brought war to a place of peace. You're a monster," Crane spat. "You killed 17 people in Boston. I executed 17 vampires who broke our laws. They were creating blood farms, Crane. Humans kept in cages, drained slowly over months. I ended them for their crimes. You have no jurisdiction over vampire justice." Lily's brain struggled to process what she was hearing. Vampires. Accords. Jurisdictions. This was insane. This was impossible. But the evidence was right in front of her. A man with red eyes and healing wounds, and strength that shouldn't exist. The younger hunter drew his gun, aiming at the patient's chest. Lily reacted without thinking. She stepped between them, her body blocking the shot. "Don't," she said. "Move, lady. You don't know what he is. I know exactly what he is. I also know you brought him here to murder him under the guise of medical treatment. That makes you worse. The patient's hand touched her shoulder gently, pulling her back. You don't need to do this. You don't owe me anything. You're my patient, Lily said stubbornly. I took an oath. I don't let people die in my ER if I can prevent it. Something flickered across the patient's face. Surprise, maybe. Or respect. Crane made a sound of disgust. You've contaminated her. She's under your influence now. I haven't done anything to her. She made her own choice. The patient released Lily's shoulder and faced the hunters. You have two options. Leave now and face the tribunal for your violation of the accord. Or stay and face me. I'm injured, yes, weakened, but I'm still faster than you, stronger than you. And I'm done being merciful to people who hunt innocents. We hunt monsters. No. You hunt anything that frightens you. There's a difference. The younger hunter's finger tightened on the trigger. Lily saw it happen, saw the decision form in his eyes. She opened her mouth to scream a warning, but the patient was already moving. He grabbed the hunter's wrist and twisted. The gun discharged, the bullet burying itself in the ceiling tiles. Acoustic foam rained down. The hunter screamed as bones broke. The patient threw him across the trauma bay. He hit the wall and slumped, unconscious or dead. Lily couldn't tell. Crane backed toward the door, his hand fumbling for his own weapon. The patient stepped forward, cutting off his escape route. I could kill you, he said quietly. It would be easy. It would even be justified under our laws. But I'm going to give you a choice that you didn't give me. Run. Tell your organization that the old rules still apply. Tell them that if they want war, I'll give them war. But if they want peace, it's still available. The accord stands. Until they decide otherwise. Crane's hand closed around his gun, but he didn't draw it. He looked at Lily, then at the patient, then at his fallen companion. This isn't over, he said. Peace rarely survives bad choices. Crane ran. The automatic doors slid open, swallowing him into the night. The patient sagged immediately, his hand going to the wound in his abdomen. It was still bleeding, still open, the silver poisoning preventing complete healing. Lily caught him before he fell. He was heavy, solid muscle despite his lean frame, and she struggled to guide him back to the gurney. You need blood, she said. Real blood, not IV fluids. That's how your healing works, isn't it? Yes. The word came out strained. The red in his eyes was fading, replaced by gray again. Human gray. Or close enough. But I won't take from you. I won't create that bond without permission. What bond? When a vampire drinks directly from a human, it creates a connection. Not control. Not compulsion. But awareness. You would feel me, and I would feel you. It fades with time if not renewed, but while it exists, it's intimate. Too intimate to force on someone who saved my life. Lily processed this. Her hands moved automatically, checking his vitals, assessing the wound. It was closing, slowly. But the silver was still in his system, slowing everything down. If I give permission, then I would drink enough to heal, enough to survive. Nothing more. Lily looked at the door where Crane had disappeared. She thought about the gun in the younger hunter's hand, the syringe of liquid silver, the casual way they'd discussed murdering someone in her ER. How do we do this? She asked. The patient stared at her. You're serious. You're dying. I'm the only source of blood available that isn't stored in a fridge somewhere. And somehow I don't think refrigerated blood works the same way, does it? It works, but not as well. Not for healing. Then we do this. Lily rolled up her sleeve, exposing her wrist. Take what you need. Don't kill me. And then you're going to explain everything. The accord, the tribunal. Why hunters are trying to murder you in my hospital. All of it. The patient reached for her wrist, then hesitated. What's your name? Lily Harper. Lily. He said it slowly, testing it. I'm Valen. And I promise you, you'll regret this kindness before this night ends. Probably, Lily agreed. But that's a problem for future me. Right now, Present Me needs to keep her patient alive. Valen smiled. It was brief, pained, but genuine. Then he brought her wrist to his mouth and bit down. Chapter 3. Shadows and sunlight. The bite didn't hurt the way Lily expected. There was pressure, a sharp sting, then warmth spreading up her arm. Valen's mouth was cold against her wrist, his grip gentle but firm. She felt the pull of blood leaving her body, rhythmic and strange, and underneath it something else. A thread connecting them, gossamer thin but undeniable. Valen released her wrist after 30 seconds, maybe less. His eyes had returned to gray, the red glow fading completely. The wound in his abdomen had closed, the burned edges of flesh knitting together until only a pale scar remained. He wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, avoiding her gaze. "Thank you," he said quietly. Lily pressed gauze against the puncture marks on her wrist, her medical training overriding the surreal nature of what had just happened. 2 neat holes, already clotting. She wrapped them quickly with bandages from the supply cabinet. "We need to move," Valen continued. "Crane will be back, with more men, more weapons. This hospital isn't safe for either of us now. Where do we go?" "Anywhere but here." Lily's mind raced through options. Her apartment was 20 minutes away. Her car was in the employee parking lot. But first they needed to get out of the trauma bay, without being seen by Dr. Keller or the security cameras that monitored every corridor. "The maintenance tunnels," she said suddenly. "They run under the entire hospital. I used to sneak down there during nursing school. There's an exit near the loading docks." "Show me." They moved quickly. Lily grabbed her jacket from the staff locker, stuffing her keys and phone into the pockets. Valen walked beside her, his movements fluid now, all traces of weakness gone. Whatever her blood had done to him, it had worked completely. The tunnel entrance was hidden behind a maintenance door marked with faded warning signs about authorized personnel only. Lily pushed it open with her shoulder. The hinges groaned. Beyond lay concrete stairs descending into darkness. "I haven't been down here in years," Lily admitted as they started down. "I used to smoke. Needed somewhere private where the supervisors wouldn't catch me. Past tense? Quit 3 years ago. Saw too many lung cancer patients." The tunnels were exactly as she remembered. Low ceilings, exposed pipes, fluorescent lights spaced too far apart. Their footsteps echoed off concrete walls covered in decades of industrial paint. The air smelled of old water and rust. Valen moved beside her in near silence. Lily glanced at him sideways, still processing the impossible reality walking next to her. Vampire. Vampire King. The words felt absurd even thinking them. "You have questions," Valen said without looking at her. "About 1,000. Ask. Are you actually a king? Like with a crown and throne and everything?" "I have a throne. I don't wear a crown." Too theatrical. His lips quirked slightly. "I'm the ruling authority over all vampires in North America. We have territories, hierarchies, laws. Someone has to enforce them. That someone is me. For how long? I've held the position for 200 years. I'm 420 years old." Lily's brain stuttered over the number. 4 centuries. He'd been alive when America was still colonies, when vampires were supposedly just folklore used to scare children. "The hunters," she said. "Crane and his people. What's their deal?" "Officially, we have a treaty, the Accord of 1889. It established boundaries between humans and vampires. We stay out of human affairs. They leave us alone. There are designated neutral zones, rules of engagement, consequences for violations." Valen's voice hardened. Crane's organization used to uphold the Accord. Now there's a radical faction that wants it dissolved. They believe all vampires should be exterminated regardless of whether we've broken any laws. And the meeting tonight? I was supposed to meet a human informant. Someone who claimed to know about a traitor in my court. Someone feeding information to the hunters. It was an ambush. They'd been planning it for weeks, maybe months. They reached a junction where 3 tunnels met. Lily turned left automatically, following muscle memory from years ago. "The silver," she said. "It slows your healing. It poisons us, not fatally in small doses, but enough to be dangerous. That syringe Crane tried to inject me with contained concentrated liquid silver. It would have paralyzed me long enough for them to finish the job. But you're healed now. Fresh blood accelerates healing, especially blood given willingly." Valen glanced at her. "What you did was reckless. You could have refused. You should have refused. You would have died. I'm a vampire. By most definitions, I'm already dead. That's a terrible technicality. Valen laughed. The sound was brief but genuine, echoing strangely in the tunnel. You're either very brave or very foolish, Lily Harper. My therapist says I have authority issues. You see a therapist? Everyone should see a therapist. They emerged from the tunnels near the loading docks 20 minutes later. The sky outside was shifting from black to deep blue, pre-dawn light creeping over the horizon. Valen stopped at the threshold, his body tensing. Sunlight in about 90 minutes, he said. We need shelter before then. My car's in the employee lot. 5 minutes away. They moved quickly across the service road. Lily's Honda Civic sat exactly where she'd left it 12 hours ago, covered in a thin layer of dew. She unlocked it with shaking hands. Windows, Valen said, already opening the trunk. What about them? Direct sunlight won't kill me instantly, but prolonged exposure will. We need to block the glass. Direct sunlight won't burn me to ash, Valen said, tucking the blanket tight. But it cooks slow. I'd rather not slow cook. Lily pulled out everything useful from her trunk. A winter coat, emergency blanket, beach towel from last summer. Valen took them without comment, draping the coat over the rear windshield, tucking the blanket across the backseat windows. The towel went over the passenger side. It wasn't perfect, but it would work for a short drive. Lily slid into the driver's seat. Valen folded himself into the passenger side, his tall frame awkward in the compact space. She started the engine. Where are we going? He asked. My apartment. It's not much, but it's got blackout curtains in the bedroom. I work nights. I need to sleep during the day. That will work. As Lily pulled out of the parking lot, Valen pulled a phone from his pocket. Somehow it had survived everything. The screen cracked but functional. He made 3 calls in rapid succession, speaking in a language Lily didn't recognize. Not Spanish, not French. Something older, harsher, with sounds that didn't quite fit in a human throat. Dimitri, I need you wheels up from New York, he said in that older, rougher tongue. 3 hours, no delays. My second in command is coming from New York, he said after the final call. He'll be here in 3 hours. We need to stay hidden until then. Who is he? Someone I trust completely. One of the few. Lily navigated through empty streets, the city still mostly asleep. She drove on autopilot, her mind elsewhere. The bond she'd felt when Valen drank from her was still there, faint but present. She could sense him beside her, could almost feel the tension in his shoulders without looking. You said there was a traitor in your court, she said. Someone feeding information to the hunters. Yes. Do you know who? No. But I will find out. His voice held absolute certainty. Someone gave Crane my location tonight, told him exactly when I'd be vulnerable. Someone wanted me dead, and killing you would cause what? A power vacuum? War. Complete war. The hunters would move against every vampire territory while we fought among ourselves for control. Thousands would die. Human and vampire. Everything we've built over the past century would collapse. Lily turned onto her street. Row houses lined both sides, modest 2-story buildings with small yards. She parked in her designated spot, number 12. We're here, she said. They moved quickly to the building. Lily's apartment was on the 2nd floor, corner unit. She unlocked 3 separate locks, pushing the door open. The space was small. Living room with second-hand couch. Kitchen barely big enough for one person. Bedroom visible through an open door. It was clean but sparse. The home of someone who worked too much to care about decorating. Valen stepped inside, his eyes scanning everything. Security cameras on neighboring buildings. Sight lines from the street. Exit routes through windows. Then his gaze caught on something else. Photos on the small bookshelf beside the television. Lily at various ages, always beside the same dark-haired boy. In the most recent photo, the boy was maybe 12, gap-toothed and smiling, wearing a soccer uniform. Your brother? Valen asked. Oliver. He lives with my parents in Vermont. I moved here for work 6 years ago. Lily pulled the curtains closed. then grabbed spare blankets from the hall closet. These should cover the windows better. They worked together, blocking every window, every crack where sunlight might enter. The apartment dimmed to twilight. Safe. Lily's phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Keller. Where are you? Security found blood in Trauma Bay 3. Need statement. They know something happened, she said, showing Valen the message. What will you tell them? The truth. Mostly. 4 men brought in a patient. There was an altercation. I helped the patient escape because I believed he was in danger. Lily typed quickly. Medical emergency. Will provide full report when I return. She hit send before she could reconsider. Valen watched her with those gray eyes that had been red less than an hour ago. You're risking everything for someone you just met. I'm risking everything because someone tried to murder a patient in my ER, Lily corrected. That's not acceptable. I don't care what species you are. Species. Valen's mouth twisted. That's one way to phrase it. What would you prefer? Supernatural being? Creature of the night? How about person? Lily met his gaze. Okay. Person who happens to be a vampire and apparently royalty. Does that work? Better. Outside, dawn broke fully. Golden light tried to penetrate the covered windows but failed. Inside, Lily's apartment remained dark and safe. She collapsed onto the couch, exhaustion finally catching up to her. You're second in command, she said. He'll come here? Yes. In about 2 hours now. And then? Then we figure out who betrayed me. And we make sure Crane and his hunters understand what happens when they violate the accord. Lily closed her eyes. Her wrist throbbed where Valen had bitten her. She could still feel that strange connection between them, delicate as spiderweb silk. I'm never going to have a normal life again, am I? Probably not, Valen admitted. I'm sorry. Don't be. It was my choice. She opened her eyes, looking at him. Besides, normal was overrated anyway. Chapter 4. Threats and Promises. The apartment settled into an uneasy quiet as morning light pressed against the covered windows. Lily sat on her couch, exhaustion pulling at her bones. She'd been awake for nearly 20 hours straight, and her shift at the hospital felt like it had happened in a different lifetime. Valen stood by the kitchen window, one hand holding the blackout curtain aside just enough to see the street below. The thin strip of sunlight that entered made his skin pale further, almost translucent in the dawn glow. He let the curtain fall closed immediately. Tell me about your laws, Lily said. You mentioned humans are protected. What does that mean exactly? Valen moved away from the window, settling into the chair across from her. His movements were controlled, precise. Someone who'd spent centuries learning not to reveal weakness. When I took control 200 years ago, vampire society was chaos. We fed on humans indiscriminately, killed without consequence, turned people against their will. It was unsustainable. Humans were developing better weapons, better organization. We were heading toward extinction, not them. So you changed the rules. I created laws. The first and most important, humans are not prey. They're not food sources to be exploited. Any vampire who kills a human without justification faces execution. Any vampire who creates blood farms, who keeps humans captive for feeding, dies. No exceptions. Lily thought about the hunters in the ER, about Crane's accusation. The 17 in Boston. They were running an operation in an abandoned factory. 23 humans kept in cells, drained regularly, kept barely alive. Some had been there for months. When I found out, I went personally. I gave them one chance to surrender. Face trial, accept punishment. They chose to fight. Valen's eyes went distant. I killed all 17 of them in less than 4 minutes. Then I freed the humans, got them medical care, created cover stories about human trafficking rings. The victims never knew what actually held them. And the hunters think you're the monster. Some do. Crane's organization used to understand the difference between justice and murder. But there's a faction now. Radicals who believe all vampires should die regardless of our actions. They see what I did in Boston as proof we're irredeemable. But you saved those people. I also killed 17 beings. That's not something humans easily forgive, even when it's necessary. Valen leaned forward, his gray eyes intense. I've spent 2 centuries building a system where vampires and humans can coexist. We have clinics now, all across North America. Humans donate blood voluntarily. They're compensated fairly. Their health is monitored. Limits are enforced. No one is hurt. No one is exploited. Like a blood bank. Exactly like that. Except the blood doesn't go into storage. It goes directly to vampires who need it. We're honest about what it's for. People choose to participate or they don't. It works. Lily absorbed this. The idea was logical, almost mundane in its practicality. But some vampires don't follow your system. Some don't. That's why I have enforcers. Why I have territories with oversight. When someone breaks the law, they're caught and punished. Usually by execution. There's no prison that can hold a vampire long term. And the Accord keeps hunters from interfering with this? The Accord establishes boundaries. We don't interfere with human justice systems. They don't hunt us without cause. There are neutral zones where neither side can attack without violating the treaty. Last night's ambush happened in one of those zones. Crane didn't just try to kill me. He broke a treaty that's prevented open war for over a century. A knock at the door shattered the conversation. 3 sharp raps, confident and demanding. Lily's entire body went rigid. No one should know she was here. She'd driven straight from the hospital without telling anyone. Valen moved instantly, crossing the room in silence. He pressed himself against the wall beside the bedroom door, out of sight from anyone who might see through the peephole. "Check who it is," he whispered. "Don't open it." Lily stood on shaking legs, moving toward the door. She looked through the peephole. Owen Crane stood in the hallway, still wearing the same clothes from the hospital. He looked tired but alert, his eyes scanning the corridor like he expected an ambush. "Lily Harper." His voice carried through the door. "I know you're in there. I just want to talk." Lily's hands clenched into fists. "How did you find me?" "Your license plate. I have friends in the police department. Took 10 minutes to track your registration." Owen moved closer to the door. "Open up. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to help." "Help." Lily's voice came out flat. "You tried to murder someone in my ER. I tried to stop a monster. There's a difference. Leave. Or I'm calling the police. And tell them what? That you helped a vampire escape? That you're harboring him now in your apartment?" Owen's voice dropped lower. "I know he's in there with you, Lily. I can smell the blood. His and yours. He's already started the process, hasn't he? Already made you complicit." Lily's wrist throbbed where Valen had bitten her. She pressed it against her side, hidden from view. "You have one chance," Owen continued. "Open this door. Let me take him into custody. The tribunal will handle it from there. You walk away clean. No charges, no consequences. Just a nurse who got caught in something she didn't understand. And if I refuse, then you're choosing his side. That makes you a target." Lily looked back toward where Valen stood hidden. She could see the tension in his shoulders, the way his hands curled into fists. He was ready to fight if Owen forced entry. Ready to kill if necessary. She turned back to the door. "How did you know which apartment?" Silence for a moment. "What?" "My license plate gives you my address. But this building has 8 units. How did you know which one was mine?" More silence. Lily pressed her advantage. "There's no name on my mailbox. No apartment number visible from the street. So how did you know to knock on this specific door, Owen?" "I asked the landlord." "At 7 in the morning? On a Saturday?" Lily moved closer to the peephole, studying his face. "You've been watching me." "For how long? Weeks? Months?" Owen's jaw tightened. "We've been monitoring everyone connected to the neutral zone meetings. Standard surveillance. When Valen scheduled a meeting with a human informant, we watched all the nearby locations. Your hospital was on the list. So this was never about last night. You've been planning this. We've been planning to end a monster who's ruled through fear for 2 centuries. Yes. Lily's mind raced. If Owen had been watching her apartment, what else did he know? What else had he seen? "That's a nice photo you have," Owen said suddenly. "On your bookshelf. You and a kid in a soccer uniform. Your brother, right? Oliver? He's what, 12 now?" Ice flooded Lily's veins. Don't. I'm not threatening him. I'm just saying, it must be hard being so far away from family, especially when they're vulnerable. Young kids on school trips. You never know what could happen. You son of... He's safe. As long as you cooperate. As long as you understand that protecting Valen means putting everyone you love at risk. Lily's hand moved to the door handle, rage overwhelming caution. Valen appeared beside her instantly, his hand covering hers, stopping her from opening it. Don't, he breathed. That's what he wants. He threatened Oliver. I know. I heard. Valen's voice was cold, controlled, absolutely lethal. Step back. Lily moved aside. Valen positioned himself in front of the door, his body blocking it completely. Owen Crane, he called through the wood. You've violated the accord 3 times in the past 12 hours. First, you attacked me in a neutral zone. Second, you attempted to murder me using silver poison in a civilian facility. Third, you just threatened the family of an innocent human. She's not innocent anymore. She helped you. She saved a patient from murderers. That's called doing her job. Valen's voice dropped to something that barely qualified as human. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave this building. You're going to report back to your superiors that I survived your ambush. And you're going to tell them that if any harm comes to Lily Harper or her family, I will consider it a declaration of war. You don't scare me. I should. I've killed better hunters than you for lesser offenses. The only reason you're still breathing is because killing you in Lily's apartment would put her at risk. Don't mistake mercy for weakness. Through the peephole, Lily watched Owen's face cycle through emotions. Anger, fear, calculation. This isn't over, Owen said finally. It never is, Valen agreed. But if you come near her or her family again, I promise you it will end. Badly. For everyone you've ever cared about. Owen's footsteps retreated down the hall. Lily counted to 60 before the building's main door slammed shut below. He'll be back, she said. Not here. Not after that threat. He knows I meant it. Valen moved away from the door, his shoulders loosening slightly. But he'll go after Oliver. Or your parents. He'll use them to force you to cooperate. Then what do? We protect them. My second in command is bringing protection detail. Vampires who specialize in human security. They'll guard your family until this is resolved. Vampires babysitting my 12-year-old brother. That's insane. Insane would be leaving him unprotected when Owen Crane knows he exists. Valen met her eyes. I made you a promise, Lily. Owen won't touch Oliver. I keep my promises. Always. Lily sank back onto the couch, her hands shaking now that the adrenaline was fading. This is really happening. Hunters showing up at my door. Threats against my family. Vampire bodyguards. Yes. I can't go back, can I? To my normal life. No, I'm sorry. Lily laughed, the sound half hysterical. Stop apologizing. I made my choice when I knocked that syringe out of Crane's hand. Everything after that is just consequences. Valen studied her for a long moment. You're taking this remarkably well. I'm in shock. Ask me again in 6 hours when reality sets in. Fair enough. Outside, the sun climbed higher. Inside, Lily's phone buzzed with increasingly urgent texts from Dr. Keller, from Jill, from hospital security. She ignored them all. Her old life was ending. Something new and dangerous and impossible was beginning. And somehow, she wasn't entirely sure she wanted to go back. Chapter 5. Court of Shadows. The knock came exactly 3 hours after dawn, different from Owen's aggressive pounding. 3 measured taps, then silence. Valen moved to the door without hesitation, checking the peephole before opening it. 3 figures stood in the hallway. The one in front was tall, maybe 40 in appearance, with black hair falling to his shoulders and eyes that glowed faint gold in the dim light. The resemblance to Valen was striking. Same angular features, same controlled posture, same predatory grace. Father, the man said simply. Lily's brain stuttered over the word. Father. Valen had a son. Of course he did. 420 years meant time for family, for relationships, for creating something beyond himself. Dimitri. Valen stepped aside, allowing them entry. This is Lily Harper. She saved my life. Dimitri's golden eyes assessed her with the thoroughness of someone used to evaluating threats. Miss Harper, my father doesn't use the word saved lightly. You have our gratitude. I just did my job. Lily's voice came out steadier than she felt. 3 vampires in her tiny apartment, one of them apparently vampire royalty. This was her life now. Your job doesn't include harboring fugitives from hunters or offering your blood to strange men. Dimitri's tone was dry but not unkind. Those were choices. Brave ones. The 2 vampires behind Dimitri carried themselves with military precision. Both wore dark tactical gear, communications equipment visible at their collars. Security detail, Lily realized. Protection. Oliver Harper. Valen said to Dimitri. 12 years old, currently in Vermont with his parents. Crane threatened him directly. I want protection established within the hour. Already done. Dimitri pulled out a tablet, showing a map with moving markers. I sent advance team from New York 2 hours ago. They're in position around the Harper residence. Parents don't know they're being watched. The boy is safe. Lily's knees went weak with relief. Can I talk to them? My parents? They'll be worried if I don't check in. Not yet. Dimitri's voice was firm but not cruel. Any communication could be traced. Crane has resources, but we can arrange a secure video call once we're in safe territory. My father explained the situation. Most of it. Ambush, traitor, violation of some accord from 1889. That covers the basics. Dimitri gestured to the 2 vampires behind him. This is Petra and Marcus. They'll accompany us to the compound. We have vehicles waiting downstairs. Reinforced glass, completely sun-safe. Compound? Lily looked at Valen. My court. Where we conduct business, where we're protected. Valen moved to gather the few belongings he'd need. You can't stay here. Crane knows this location. We need defensible ground. 20 minutes later, Lily sat in the back of an SUV with windows so dark she could barely see through them. Valen beside her. Dimitri driving. Petra in the passenger seat. Marcus followed in the second vehicle. They drove through the city in silence. Lily watched familiar streets pass by, each mile taking her further from her old life. The hospital where she'd worked for 6 years. The coffee shop where she got her morning fix. The park where she'd video called Oliver just 3 days ago. All of it felt impossibly distant now. You're handling this well, Petra said, without turning around. She had silver-streaked dark hair pulled into a severe bun, and when she'd shaken Lily's hand, her grip had been ice cold. Most humans panic when they learn about us. I'm panicking on the inside, Lily admitted. I'm just too tired to show it. Petra laughed, the sound surprisingly warm. Fair enough. They parked in an underground garage beneath a sleek office building downtown. 17 floors of glass and steel above. God knew what below. Dimitri led them to an elevator that required both a key card and a fingerprint scan to operate. They descended. And descended. And descended. How far down does this go? Lily asked. 5 sublevels. Dimitri watched the numbers count down. The court occupies the bottom 3. Perfect temperature control, no natural light, multiple escape routes. We've been here for 30 years. The doors opened onto something from a science fiction film. Concrete corridors lit by LED strips, security cameras every 20 feet, doors marked with symbols Lily didn't recognize. The air smelled recycled but clean, temperature controlled to exactly 68 degrees. Dimitri led them through a security checkpoint, where 2 more vampires stood guard. Then through a massive steel door that looked like it belonged in a bank vault. Beyond lay the court. Lily had expected Gothic architecture, ancient tapestries, the vampire aesthetic from movies and television. Instead, she found a space that looked like a corporate headquarters designed by someone with unlimited budget and paranoid security concerns. Modern furniture, glass conference tables, computer workstations, even a kitchen area with a massive refrigeration unit marked medical storage only. Vampires moved through the space with purpose. Some wore business suits, others casual clothes, a few in what looked like tactical gear. They all stopped when Valen entered, heads turning, postures shifting to respect. "My king." A woman approached, appearing maybe 60 with sharp features and eyes that had seen centuries. "We heard about the ambush. Thank God you survived. Petra saved me as much as Miss Harper did." Valen gestured to the silver-haired vampire who'd ridden with them. "But yes, I survived. Barely. And the hunters? Violated the accord. Attacked in a neutral zone. Used silver weapons designed for execution." Valen's voice hardened. "More importantly, someone gave them my location. Someone in this court told Crane exactly where I'd be and when." The room went silent. Lily felt the shift in atmosphere, the way every vampire suddenly became very still. Predators scenting blood. "You're certain?" the older woman asked. "Completely. The ambush was too precise. They knew the building, the floor, even which entrance I'd use. That information came from inside." Valen scanned the assembled court. "Which means one of you betrayed me." Petra, the Ancient One, stepped forward. "My lord, I've served you for 300 years. Every vampire here owes you loyalty. Who would risk your fury? Someone desperate. Someone compromised. Someone who thinks they can get away with it." Valen moved to the center of the room, commanding attention without effort. "I'm calling a full council session. Now. Every member present. No exceptions." Dmitri moved immediately, making calls on his phone. Within minutes, vampires began filing into a larger chamber off the main space. Lily counted 11 total, all ancient-looking, despite their varied apparent ages. These were the counselors. The inner circle. Valen gestured for Lily to follow. "You should see this. You're part of this now, whether you want to be or not." The council chamber was circular, dominated by a large round table with high-back chairs. Valen took the head seat. Dmitri stood behind him, protective. Lily was given a chair along the wall, observer status. "We have a traitor," Valen announced without preamble. "Someone in this court gave the hunters my location last night. I want theories. I want suspects. I want answers." The council erupted into discussion. Accusations flew. Denials shouted. Suspicions voiced. Lily watched the chaos with growing unease. These were ancient beings with centuries of grudges and alliances, all colliding at once. Then she noticed something odd. One council member, a man with neat brown hair and expensive suit, kept reacting half a second too early. When Valen mentioned the neutral zone, the man's face showed concern before the words fully finished. When Dmitri suggested investigating communication records, the man's hands clenched before the sentence ended. He knew what was coming. Like watching a movie you'd already seen. Lily leaned closer to Valen, keeping her voice barely audible. The one in the gray suit. 3 seats to your left. Watch his timing." Valen's eyes flicked to the man, then back to the discussion. He shifted the conversation suddenly, proposing a false lead about investigating the hospital staff. The man in gray relaxed immediately, shoulders dropping. But they hadn't mentioned investigating hospital staff before. Valen stood abruptly. "Lionel, stand." The man in gray froze. The entire room went silent. "Stand," Valen repeated. "Now." Lionel stood slowly, his face carefully neutral. "My king, you knew I was going to propose investigating the hospital. I never mentioned that strategy. So how did you know?" I assumed. It's logical." "Wrong answer." Valen moved around the table with deadly grace. "You've been reacting to information before it's given. Either you're remarkably prescient, or you already know what's going to happen. Which is it?" Lionel's composure cracked. "I can explain." "Then do." "They have Emma." The words came out broken. "The hunters. They took her 2 months ago. They said if I didn't cooperate, they'd kill her. Slowly. I had no choice." The room exploded. Vampires lunged forward. Dimitri's hand went to a weapon at his belt. Valen raised one hand, stopping everyone. "Emma." Valen's voice was quiet, dangerous. "Your human companion. The woman you've loved for 40 years. Yes." Lionel's hands shook. "They have her. They're hurting her. I had to protect her. By sacrificing me. I hoped they'd just capture you. hold you for negotiation. I didn't know they meant to kill you outright." Lionel looked like he was dying. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But it's Emma. What would you do for someone you loved?" Lily's phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out. A message from an unknown number. "Video call ready. Secure line. Your parents." She showed it to Valen. He nodded once. As Lily stepped out of the council chamber to take the call, she heard Valen's voice behind her, cold and absolute. "Dimitri, assemble a rescue team. We're getting Emma back. Then we're going to have a very long conversation about loyalty, love, and the price of betrayal." Chapter 6. Blood and Bargains. The video call showed Lily's parents in their Vermont living room. The same couch she'd grown up sitting on. The same family photos on the wall. Her mother's face filled the screen, worried but trying to hide it. "Lily, honey, are you okay? You haven't called in 3 days. 3 days. Had it really only been 3 days since this started? It felt like months." "I'm fine, Mom. Work's been crazy. There was an incident at the hospital and I've been helping with the investigation. The lie came easier than it should have. Is Oliver there?" "He's at soccer practice. He'll be disappointed he missed you." Her mother leaned closer to the camera. "Lily, there are men watching our house. They say they're private security, that the hospital hired them because of the incident." "What's going on?" Lily's throat tightened. "It's just a precaution. Nothing to worry about. You're lying. I can always tell when you're lying. You get this little crease between your eyebrows." "Mom." Lily forced herself to meet her mother's eyes through the screen. "I promise you, Oliver is safe. You're safe. The security is there to make sure it stays that way. I can't explain everything right now, but I need you to trust me." Her mother studied her face for a long moment. "Does this have something to do with those men who came to the hospital?" The police were asking questions. "Yes, but it's being handled. I just need a few more days." "Days for what?" "To make sure everyone stays safe." Lily glanced toward the council chamber where Valen's voice carried, cold and absolute, discussing Lionel's fate. "Mom, I have to go. Kiss Oliver for me. Tell him I'll call him soon. Lily, I love you. Stay inside. Don't talk to anyone you don't know. Please." She ended the call before her mother could argue. Her hands shook as she lowered the phone. "They're scared." Valen stood in the doorway watching her. "But they're safe. Marcus sent me updated reports. Your brother got a goal at practice today. Your father made jokes about the security guards being worse at their job than mall cops. Despite everything," Lily smiled. "That sounds like Dad. The protection detail will stay until this is resolved. No exceptions." Valen moved closer, his presence somehow both comforting and intimidating. "Come. The council wants to hear your perspective on the rescue operation." "My perspective? I'm a nurse, not a tactical expert. You're the only human in this compound who isn't a prisoner or a willing donor. Emma will be terrified when we find her. She'll need someone who understands that fear." Lily followed him back into the council chamber. The tension had shifted from accusatory to strategic. Maps covered the table, satellite images of a warehouse complex in the industrial district. Red markers indicated entry points, guard positions, potential escape routes. Lionel sat in a chair against the wall, hands bound with what looked like silver chains. His skin smoked faintly where the metal touched. Dimitri stood guard, expression unreadable. "The warehouse is heavily fortified," Petra was saying, pointing to the images. 23 hunters at last count. Silver weapons, UV lights, probably holy water traps. They're expecting retaliation. Good. Valen studied the maps with the focus of someone who'd planned hundreds of operations. Expectations can be exploited. They'll assume a frontal assault. We'll give them one. Dimitri leads 8 vampires through the main entrance. Maximum noise, maximum chaos. And while they're distracted, Dimitri asked, Lily and I enter through the loading dock with Marcus and Petra. We locate Emma, extract her, and disappear before they realize the assault was a diversion. The council erupted with objections. Too dangerous. Too risky. The king shouldn't be in the field. Let someone else retrieve the human. Valen silenced them with a raised hand. Emma is being held because of me. Because someone wanted to use her to hurt me. Her rescue is my responsibility. It's suicide. One of the counselors argued. You were nearly killed last night. Your healing isn't complete. Going back into hunter territory is necessary. Valen's voice cut through the protest. Lionel betrayed me to save someone he loves. I won't punish him by leaving her to die. We get Emma back. Then we deal with the consequences. Lily cleared her throat. Every vampire turned to look at her. Being the center of attention from a dozen ancient predators was terrifying. But she pushed through it. Emma's going to be traumatized. 2 months of captivity. Probably torture. When you burst in with vampire speed and red eyes, she'll think you're there to finish what the hunters started. Lily met Valen's gaze. Let me go in first. Let me talk to her. Human to human. Then you can move her. Absolutely not, Dimitri said immediately. You're not trained. You'll be a liability. I'm a trauma nurse. I've talked down patients in psychotic breaks, people having seizures, children who've been abused. This is what I do. In a controlled hospital environment, not in a war zone. Then teach me. Lily turned to face Dimitri fully. You have 18 hours until the operation. Teach me how to move quietly, how to take cover, how to stay alive. I'm a fast learner. Dimitri looked at his father. Valen studied Lily with those gray eyes that saw too much. 16 hours, Valen said finally. Dimitri trains you for 16 hours. You follow orders exactly. You don't improvise. You don't take risks. The moment things go wrong, Marcus carries you out whether you want to leave or not. Understood? Understood. Then we have a plan. Valen turned back to the maps. We move at 2:30 tomorrow morning. That gives us time to prepare, to rest, and to pray this doesn't end with everyone dead. The next 16 hours were the most exhausting of Lily's life. Dimitri was a brutal teacher, patient but unforgiving. He taught her to move without making sound, to recognize cover versus concealment, to fall without injuring herself. Basic hand signals for communication. Where to position herself in a room to avoid crossfire. You're not going to fight, Dimitri explained, as they practiced in a training room deep in the compound. Your job is to survive and help Emma do the same. If shooting starts, you hit the ground. You don't look. You don't move. You wait for extraction. What if someone tries to shoot me? Then Marcus or Petra will kill them before the bullet reaches you. That's their job. Your job is not to make theirs harder. Dimitri demonstrated a proper fall, dropping to the concrete floor in one smooth motion. Again, Lily practiced until her knees were bruised and her muscles screamed. Dimitri never let her rest more than 5 minutes. In hour 12, Valen appeared with water and protein bars. He watched silently as Dimitri put Lily through another round of cover drills. She's doing well, Valen said when Dimitri finally called a break. She's determined. That counts for something. Dimitri accepted a water bottle, downing it in one long swallow. But determination won't stop bullets. No, but it might save Emma's life. Valen crouched beside Lily, who sat on the floor catching her breath. Why are you doing this? You don't know, Emma. You owe Lionel nothing. This isn't your fight. Lily wiped sweat from her face. Because 2 months ago, Emma was living her life. Then hunters grabbed her to use as leverage against people she probably didn't even know existed. She's a victim. If I can help her, I will. Even if it puts you at risk. I work in an ER. I'm always at risk. Lily met his eyes. Besides, someone once told me that helping people even when it's dangerous is kind of the point. Did they? Valen's lips quirked slightly. Yeah, some vampire king. You might know him. Dimitri made a sound that might have been a laugh. She's got your number, father. Apparently so. Valen stood, offering Lily his hand. She took it, letting him pull her to her feet. His grip was cold, but steady. 4 more hours of training. Then you rest. We leave at 2:30 a.m. Those final 4 hours blurred together. More drills, more scenarios, more ways things could go catastrophically wrong. By the time Dimitri finally released her, Lily could barely walk straight. A vampire named Helena showed her to a small room with a bed and private bathroom. Sleep, Helena advised. You'll need it. Lily collapsed onto the bed fully clothed. She meant to shower first, meant to check her phone, meant to think through everything that was about to happen. Instead, she was asleep in seconds. She woke to gentle knocking. Valen stood in the doorway, wearing black tactical gear that made him look even more dangerous than usual. "It's time," he said simply. Lily nodded, her heart already racing. This was happening. She was about to walk into a hunter stronghold with vampires to rescue a woman she'd never met. Her old life felt very, very far away. Chapter 7. Fire and Ash. The warehouse district was dead at 2:30 in the morning. Abandoned factories lined the streets like tombstones, their broken windows reflecting the pale moonlight. Lily crouched behind a rusted shipping container, watching Valen study the target building through binoculars. 23 heat signatures, Marcus whispered, his eyes glowing faint gold in the darkness. Concentrated on the main floor. Emma's in the basement, southeast corner. Metal container, probably sealed. Explosives? Valen asked. C4 charges on the support columns, enough to bring the whole structure down. Petra adjusted her tactical vest, weapons clinking softly. "They're expecting us." "Good." Valen lowered the binoculars. "Dimitri, you're clear to begin." Across the street, 8 figures emerged from the shadows. They moved fast, inhumanly fast, hitting the warehouse's main entrance with the force of a battering ram. The steel doors exploded inward. Alarms shrieked. Gunfire erupted immediately, muzzle flashes lighting the broken windows. "Now," Valen said. They moved. Lily followed exactly as Dimitri had trained her, keeping low, staying in Valen's shadow. The loading dock entrance was unlocked, just as Lionel had promised. They slipped inside while the hunter's attention focused on the frontal assault. The interior smelled of rust and old blood. Industrial fixtures hung from the ceiling like metal skeletons. Lily's heart hammered against her ribs, but her hands stayed steady. Dimitri's training had drilled the panic out of her, replaced it with procedure. Valen moved ahead, clearing corners with practiced efficiency. Marcus covered their rear. Petra stayed beside Lily, one hand always ready to pull her to safety. They found the stairs leading down. The basement was darker, colder, lit only by emergency strips that cast everything in sickly green. Water dripped somewhere. Above them, the gunfire continued, the sound muffled by concrete and steel. There, Valen pointed to a metal shipping container against the far wall. Heavy padlocks secured the door. Valen broke them with his bare hands, the metal shrieking as it gave way. The smell hit Lily first. Unwashed human, infected wounds, fear so thick it was almost tangible. She pushed past Valen into the container. Emma huddled in the corner, chained to the wall by her wrist. She was maybe 35, dark hair matted with blood and dirt, clothes torn and filthy. Her eyes were wild, unfocused, the look of someone who'd broken under torture. "Don't come closer!" Emma's voice cracked. "Please, no more. I told you everything. I don't know anything else." "Emma." Lily dropped to her knees, keeping her movements slow and visible. "My name is Lily. I'm a nurse. Lionel sent us to get you out." "Lionel?" Emma's eyes filled with tears. "You're lying. He's dead. You said you killed him." "We didn't kill him. He's alive. He's waiting for you." Lily pulled medical supplies from the pack Petra handed her. "But I need to check your injuries first. Can you tell me what hurts?" "Everything." Emma started shaking. "My wrist, the chain. They burned me with silver. Said it would make him come faster." Lily examined the wrist where the chain attached. The flesh was raw, infected. Silver burns creating patterns of blackened skin. "Valen, I need bolt cutters." Valen produced them instantly. Lily positioned them carefully, cutting through the chain without jostling Emma's injured wrist. The moment she was free, Emma collapsed into Lily's arms, sobbing. "I'm getting you out," Lily whispered, wrapping the injured wrist in clean bandages. "Stay with me. We're almost done." Footsteps on the stairs. Heavy boots. Multiple people. Valen moved instantly, positioning himself between the women and the door. Petra and Marcus flanked him, weapons ready. Owen Crane emerged from the stairwell. He wasn't wearing tactical gear anymore, just jeans and a jacket. But he held a detonator in his right hand, his thumb resting on the trigger. "So you came." Owen's voice was tired, empty. "I told them you would." "Predictable. That's always been your weakness, Valen. You care too much. Let us take Emma and leave." Valen said calmly. This doesn't have to end badly. Doesn't it? Owen laughed, the sound bitter. My daughter was 12 years old. Sophie. She wanted to be a veterinarian. She loved cats, even though she was allergic. Made her sneeze constantly, but she didn't care. His voice broke. A vampire killed her, drained her in an alley behind her school, left her body like garbage. I know. Valen's voice softened slightly. I executed that vampire 4 years ago. Tracked him across 3 states. Gave him a trial. Found him guilty. Ended him personally. Justice was served, Owen. Justice? Owen's hand shook on the detonator. You think killing one monster brings her back? You think that's enough? No. I think nothing will ever be enough. I think you'll carry Sophie's death until your last breath. But killing Emma won't change that. Killing me won't change that. It just creates more grieving families. Lily stood slowly, Emma leaning heavily against her. Owen, I saw your file. You were a good cop. You protected people. That's who you were before Sophie died. That man is gone. Is he? Because standing here with a detonator, threatening innocent people, that doesn't sound like someone who loved his daughter. That sounds like someone who's forgotten why she mattered in the first place. Owen's eyes met Lily's. She saw the pain there, raw and infinite. A father who'd lost everything and couldn't find his way back. She'd be 17 now, Owen said quietly. Senior year of high school. She'd be learning to drive, complaining about homework, falling in love for the first time. His thumb hovered over the trigger. Instead, she's buried next to her mother. And I'm here, becoming the monster I swore to stop. You don't have to be. Lily took a step forward. Emma whimpered but stayed silent. Put down the detonator. Let us walk out. You can grieve without becoming what killed Sophie. For 3 heartbeats, Owen's hand trembled. The detonator shook. His thumb lifted slightly from the trigger. Then footsteps pounded down the stairs. Carl, the hunter from the ER, appeared behind Owen. His face was bloody, his arm hanging useless. But he held a remote trigger in his good hand. She's manipulating you, Carl shouted. They're all monsters, Owen. Finish this. He pressed the trigger. Nothing happened. Carl pressed again. Again. The detonator in Owen's hand beeped once, then went dead. Looking for this? Dimitri emerged from the shadows behind Carl, holding a small circuit board. We found your explosives 30 minutes ago. Lovely placement. Terrible encryption on the wireless trigger. My tech specialist disabled them before we even entered the building. Carl lunged for Dimitri. He didn't make it 3 feet. Valen moved, crossing the distance faster than Lily could track. One strike and Carl crumpled, unconscious before he hit the concrete. Owen stood frozen, the dead detonator still in his hand. He looked at it, then at Valen, then at Emma crying in Lily's arms. I failed her, Owen said. His voice was barely audible. Sophie, I failed her, and I failed to avenge her. I failed at everything. No. Valen moved closer but didn't touch him. You failed to let her go. That's different. You can still choose to honor her memory instead of destroying it. Owen's legs gave out. He dropped to his knees, the detonator clattering away. Dimitri appeared beside him, silver cuffs ready. Police are 2 minutes out, Dimitri reported. Anonymous call about weapons trafficking. They'll find hunters, weapons, explosives. They'll find Emma as a kidnapping victim. We were never here. Valen nodded. He turned to Lily. Can she walk? With help. Lily supported Emma's weight, moving toward the back exit. Marcus led the way, Petra covering. They emerged into an alley, just as sirens wailed in the distance. 2 blocks away, SUVs waited with engines running. They loaded Emma into the first vehicle. Lily climbed in beside her, still supporting her injured wrist. As they pulled away, Lily looked back. The warehouse was lit up with red and blue lights. Police swarmed the entrance. Owen sat on the ground, hands behind his head, officers surrounding him. Will he talk? Lily asked. Tell them about vampires? He'll try, Valen said from the front seat. No one will believe him. Post-traumatic stress from losing his daughter. Radicalized by grief. That's what the reports will say. He glanced back at her. You did well. Emma's alive because you talked him down. Carl almost killed us all. But he didn't. Because we planned for contingencies. Valen's eyes met hers in the rearview mirror. Welcome to my world, Lily Harper. Where nothing is certain and death is always 2 steps behind. Emma stirred, her eyes opening. Lionel. Where's Lionel? Waiting for you. Lily promised. I'll take you to him myself. As the SUV disappeared into the pre-dawn darkness, Lily felt the bond with Valen pulse faintly. They were connected now, for better or worse. The nurse and the vampire king. Partners in something neither of them fully understood yet. But they were alive. They'd won. For now, that was enough. Chapter 8. New Beginnings. 3 weeks passed in a blur of healing and adjustment. Lily spent the first week in the vampire compound, helping Emma recover. The woman's injuries were extensive, both physical and psychological. Lily cleaned infected wounds, administered antibiotics from the compound's medical supplies, and mostly just sat with her while she cried. Lionel never left Emma's side except when forced. He held her hand through nightmares, whispered apologies she didn't want to hear, and looked like he was dying every time she flinched at sudden movements. The council had stripped him of his position but spared his life. 10 years of supervision. 10 years to prove he deserved the mercy Valen had shown. Do you forgive him? Lily asked Emma one afternoon while changing bandages. Emma was quiet for a long moment. I don't know yet. He betrayed his king to save me. That's love, I think. But it's also the kind of love that destroys everything around it. She looked toward the door where Lionel waited outside. We'll figure it out. Or we won't. But at least we're both alive to try. The tribunal happened in the 2nd week. Not in the vampire compound, but in a neutral location downtown. An abandoned courthouse that had been converted into something else entirely. Lily attended as a witness. The council general was exactly as Valen had described. 5 ancient vampires who looked like they'd seen empires rise and fall. 5 humans who knew the supernatural world existed and helped maintain the peace. And 1 mediator. The mediator was a woman named Cassandra, who introduced herself as a secular witch and refused to elaborate. Owen Crane stood trial for violating the Accord of 1889. The evidence was damning. The attempted assassination, the kidnapping of Emma, the threats against Oliver. His own recorded conversations played back for the council to hear. Owen didn't defend himself. He sat in silence, accepting judgment with the exhausted resignation of someone who'd already lost everything that mattered. The sentence was fair, but harsh. 15 years in human prison for kidnapping and weapons charges. Then permanent exile from all vampire territories. He could live, but he could never again enter the world he'd spent his life trying to destroy. As guards led him away, Owen looked at Lily one last time. Take care of yourself, nurse. The world you're entering isn't kind to humans. I know, Lily said quietly, but it's my choice to be there. Owen nodded once, then disappeared through the doors. Lily returned to Mercy General Hospital in the 3rd week. She'd filed for emergency medical leave, citing post-traumatic stress from witnessing a violent crime. Dr. Keller accepted her explanation, especially after police investigators confirmed she'd been held as a material witness. You look different, Jill said, when Lily returned to the ER for her first shift back. More, I don't know, present? Like you're actually here instead of just going through motions. I had time to think about what matters. Lily pulled on fresh scrubs, the familiar blue cotton feeling strange after 3 weeks in civilian clothes. Turns out almost dying gives you perspective. That's dark, Lily. Yeah, but it's true. Her first day back was surprisingly normal. Broken bones, chest pain, a kid who'd swallowed a marble. The familiar rhythm of emergency medicine wrapped around her like a comfortable blanket. But underneath it all, she felt different. She'd seen things that changed how she looked at the world. Every patient could be more than human. Every shadow could hide something ancient. She was checking her locker after shift when she found the envelope. Inside was a bank statement showing her student loan balance. 0. Paid in full. $38,000 gone overnight. Attached was a handwritten note on expensive paper. Debt of life, not charity. You saved a king. This is tradition. V. Lily's hands shook as she read it. She pulled out her phone, scrolling through messages until she found ones from her mother. Photos of Oliver holding an acceptance letter. Full scholarship to the private school he'd been dreaming of attending. Another message about their health insurance upgrading mysteriously, covering treatments her father's condition had needed for years. She knew exactly who was responsible. You overdid it. Lily spoke to the empty locker room, knowing Valen could probably hear her somehow through whatever supernatural means vampires used for surveillance. This is too much. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Come to the hospital chapel. Now. Lily found Valen sitting in the back pew of the small interfaith chapel on the hospital's second floor. He wore civilian clothes, jeans, and a dark jacket, looking completely human except for those two perfect features and eyes that caught the light strangely. You can't just pay off my entire life, Lily said, sliding into the pew beside him. I can. I did. It's done. Valen's voice was calm, matter of fact. You saved my life, Lily. Vampire tradition requires me to honor that debt. The amount doesn't matter. The gesture does. $38,000 matters. Not to someone who's been accumulating wealth for 4 centuries. He turned to face her fully. But if it makes you feel better, consider it separate from what I'm about to offer. Which is? A job. Official position as medical liaison between the vampire community and human hospitals. We need someone who understands both worlds. Someone vampires trust and humans respect. Valen pulled out a folder, handing it to her. Vampires get injured in ways our healing can't fix. Silver fragments lodged too deep to remove naturally. Surgical complications from old wounds. We need access to human medical technology and expertise. You'd coordinate that access. Lily opened the folder. The salary listed was exactly what a specialist medical consultant would earn. Fair, professional, not inflated because of their connection. And if I say no, then I respect your choice. You've already saved my life. I won't trap you in my world if you don't want to be here. Valen's expression was serious, open. This is a genuine offer, not manipulation. You can walk away. Go back to your normal life. I'll make sure you're safe, that your family is protected. But the choice is yours. Lily stared at the contract. Medical liaison. Bridge between two worlds. It was insane. It was dangerous. It was possibly the most important work she'd ever do. What about us? The question escaped before she could stop it. Valen went very still. What about us? There's something here. Between us. I feel it every time I'm near you. That bond from when you drank my blood. It's still there. Lily met his eyes directly. If I take this job, does it complicate things? Yes. Valen's honesty was brutal. It complicates everything. You're human. I'm vampire. I'm 420 years old. You're 28. The power imbalance alone makes any relationship problematic. He paused. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't feel it too. So what do? We start with the job. We build trust. We work together professionally. And if something more develops, we face it honestly when it happens. No pressure. No expectations. Just possibility. Valen smiled slightly. I've waited 4 centuries. I can wait longer. Lily looked at the contract again. Then at Valen. Then at the cross hanging on the chapel wall, wondering what she was about to commit to. I need one guarantee, she said finally. Name it. Oliver stays safe. My family stays safe. No matter what happens between vampire politics and hunter conflicts and whatever insanity comes next, they're off limits. Forever. You have my word. Sealed in blood if you want. Your word is enough. Lily pulled a pen from her pocket, signing the contract with steady hands. When do I start? Tomorrow night. There's a vampire in Chicago who needs emergency surgery to remove silver shrapnel. You'll consult with the surgeon. Make sure they understand what they're dealing with. Tomorrow night. Lily handed back the signed contract. Just like that, I'm part of the vampire world. You've been part of it since you stepped between me and Crane's silver syringe. This just makes it official. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. The chapel was empty except for them. Quiet except for the distant sounds of the hospital continuing its endless work. I don't know what I'm doing, Lily admitted. Neither do I. Valen stood, offering his hand. But we'll figure it out together. Lily took his hand, letting him pull her to her feet. His skin was still cold, still impossibly smooth. But the touch felt right, natural, like pieces clicking into place. "Welcome to my world, Lily Harper. Don't breathe," she said, echoing his first words to her. "Or I'll hear you." Valen laughed. The sound was warm, genuine, completely human despite everything he was. And for the first time in 3 weeks, Lily felt certain she'd made the right choice.